good.
Check. Follow. Check. आ रहा है ना? Check. Test. Check, test. Sound check, mic testing. 1, 2, 3, check. Check, test. Check.
कौन बोल रहा है? Malingam, here. Your name plate is there. बोई साहब का पता नहीं था तो बोई साहब का नेम प्लेट नहीं है. बैठ जाइए बाजू में.
Hello, Shani.
Yes, Shaima.
Have you logged in?
I'm just trying to. It's kind of little slow.
Okay, so I'll
I'll
just
tell you.
directly join and mute the. Just hold.
I'll tell you. Just hang on.
So should I transfer to the main call now?
No, 1 minute, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'm in your hands
Yes.
whenever.
Yes. Okay, are we done with the photographs? Are we done? Okay, then I'll request the governor to start. Okay, Shaima, are you live?
Okay, so I'll just join to the main call.
Okay.
The conference is now being recorded.
Okay.
1 second, sir. Share. You're making the announcement or we'll go?
Yes, we are live now. So
Okay,
you may go ahead.
okay. Yeah, yes, sir.
Good morning and welcome to the Reserve Bank. On the basis of an assessment of the current and evolving macroeconomic situation, we've decided today to keep the policy repo rate under the liquidity adjustment facility unchanged at 8%. We've also decided to increase the liquidity provided under the 7-day and 14-day term repos from 0.5% of net demand and time liabilities of the banking system to 0.75% and decrease the liquidity provided under the overnight repos from 0.5% of bank-wise NDTL to 0.25% with immediate effect. So one will compensate for the other. Let me turn to the rationale for this policy. Real GDP growth is expected to pick up from a little below 5% in 2013-14 to a range of 5 to 6% in 2014-15, though with downside risk to the central estimate of 5.5%. Easing of domestic supply bottlenecks and progress on the implementation of stalled projects already cleared should contribute to growth, as will stronger anticipated export growth as the world economy picks up. For the year as a whole, the current account deficit is expected to be about 2% of GDP. Sustained inflows augmented by repayments by public sector oil marketing companies of their foreign currency obligations to the Reserve Bank in March have led to an increase in reserves. Looking ahead, vegetable prices have entered their seasonal trough and further softening is unlikely. There are also risks to our central forecast of 8% CPI inflation by January 2015. These include a less than normal monsoon due to possible El Nino effects, uncertainty on the setting of minimum support prices for agricultural commodities, and the setting of other administered prices, especially of fuel, fertilizer, and electricity. The outlook for fiscal policy and geopolitical developments and the impact on international commodity prices. In addition to these risks, which are two-sided, there will also be downward statistical pull on CPI inflation later this year due to base effects from high inflation during June to November 2013. It is critical for us to look through any transient effects, including these base effects, which could temporarily soften or harden headline inflation during 2014. Our policy stance is firmly focused on keeping the economy on a disinflationary guide path that is intended to hit 8% CPI inflation by January 2015 and 6% by January 2016. At the current juncture, it is appropriate to hold the policy rate while allowing the rate increases undertaken during September 2013 through January 2014 to work their way through the economy. Furthermore, if inflation continues along the intended glide path, further policy tightening in the near term is not anticipated at this juncture. In pursuance of the Dr. Urjit Patel Committee recommendation to de-emphasize overnight guaranteed access windows for liquidity management and to progressively conduct liquidity management through term repos, we've decided to further reduce access to overnight repos under the LAF while compensating fully with a commensurate expansion of the market's access to term repos from the Reserve Bank. The primary objective is to improve the transmission of policy impulses across the interest rate spectrum. Let me now turn to developmental and regulatory policies. We have set out a 5-pillar framework to guide the developmental and regulatory policies of the Reserve Bank. I invite you all to go through Part B of the policy statement, which lays out the developmental and regulatory measures, the progress made, and some new initiatives that are being undertaken. Let me highlight a few. Some recommendations of the Dr. Urjit Patel Committee report have been implemented, including the adoption of the new CPI combined as the key measure of inflation, explicit recognition of the glide path for disinflation, a transition to a bi-monthly monetary policy cycle, of which this is the first, progressive reduction in access to overnight liquidity under the LAF at the fixed repo rate, and a corresponding increase in access to liquidity through term repos, and the introduction of longer-term term repos as well as going forward term reverse repos. Following on the recommendations of the High-Level Advisory Committee chaired by Dr. Bimal Jalan, and after consulting the Election Commission, the RBI will announce in-principle approval for new bank licenses. Immediately after, and using the learning from the licensing exercise, as well as building on its previously released discussion paper on banking structure, the Reserve Bank will work to give more licenses more regularly, that is, virtually on tap. It will also set out categories of differentiated bank licenses that will allow a wider pool of entrants into banking. Turning to markets, to expand investor demand for inflation index bonds, design changes improving their attractiveness to the general public are being worked out. In order to expand the market for corporate bonds, banks will be allowed to offer partial credit enhancements to them. The feasibility of limited re-repo or rehypothecation of repoed government securities is being explored. As regards foreign investors, the Reserve Bank welcomes them and will continue to work to ease entry costs while reducing risks for investors and the volatility of flows. Towards this end, modalities allowing foreign portfolio investors to hedge their currency risks through exchange-traded currency futures are being worked out in consultation with SEBI. FPIs will also be allowed to hedge their coupon receipts falling due during the next 12 months. KYC norms are being simplified for foreign portfolio investors. To encourage longer-term flows and reduce volatility, FPI investments in G-SECs will henceforth be permitted only in dated securities of maturity 1 year and above, and existing investments in T-bills will be allowed to taper off on maturity/sale. Any investment limits vacated at the shorter end will, however, be available at longer maturities, so overall FPI limits will not be diminished. Turning to the inclusion and customer protection agenda, we intend to enlarge the banking correspondent base through the inclusion of new entities as well as considering a relaxation of existing distance restrictions. A number of measures to protect consumers are being envisaged. For example, banks should not levy penal charges for non-maintenance of minimum balances in ordinary savings banks accounts and on inoperative accounts, but instead they should curtail the services accorded to those accounts until the balance is restored. Finally, and last but not least, to tackle distress in the system, the comprehensive framework we outlined to help banks reduce their NPAs, even while putting distressed projects back on track, will be effective from today. We will monitor progress and make any needed adjustments to ensure it operates smoothly. I hope that the only thing that was surprising about monetary policy today was a lack of surprise. I'm glad financial markets and analysts have started understanding what we are doing. Thank you very much for your attention.
We'll take 2 minutes for photographers to clear the room, please, and the media to get in. Shaima, you can make your announcements in the meanwhile.
Sure, ma'am. Participants connected to the audio bridge, if you wish to ask a question, you may press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Participants present in the conference room are requested to use the mic while asking a question.
You need to leave the room, please, as quickly as you can. Then we can start the press conference.
Jokes on that.
Keep everyone entertained.
Yes.
I can hear you. Thanks very much. Photographers, Ajit ji. They want all of you to go together on 15th floor to get another opportunity.
Oh, okay. We should stand all together. I think that's the only way they'll get all of us. So just walking is very hard.
That's true. So 15th floor, maybe if you take that common lift and then wait at the entrance.
Yeah. Can do that.
Okay, are we ready for the press conference? Request to the media, please use the mics. Mics are somewhere near you. So please put up your hands as always. Wait for me to announce your name and then take the mic and ask a question. Mics are coming. Shaima, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we start the press conference with Lata being the first one to ask. Mic here.
Well, good morning, everybody. Governor, you all have not said anything about OMO. The borrowing program starts day after tomorrow. What will you be supporting, or what is the policy of supporting in case there isn't interest in the later government auctions? As well, you have said that you have seen potential output fall very sharply. From what to what?
To your first question, I think the intent is to provide sufficient liquidity to the markets. That means both short-term liquidity consistent with maintaining the call money rate close to the policy rate, and second, providing long-term increases in the balance sheet of the RBI consistent with what we believe is the appropriate rate of growth of credit in the economy. Now, our focus is on the rate of credit consistent with the inflation that we are looking at, as well as the economic growth that we anticipate. And to the extent that OMOs as well as foreign currency asset purchases are consistent with that over the next year, we will accommodate what we can. On the issue of I'm sorry, the second question was? Potential growth, what was it? Potential growth, and why don't I ask Dr. Urjit Patel to speak about that. As you know, estimating potential growth is a very difficult task.
With that important footnote that the governor just enunciated, by our calculations and using well-known techniques, in particular the Hodrick-Prescott one, The potential output has fallen from 8.5% in the fiscal year 2011-2012 to just below 6% presently. And this has been corroborated by some other research also. Thank you.
Let me add a footnote to the footnote, which is that my own sense of potential growth is it's a somewhat nebulous concept in the sense that to some extent what supply constraints in the economy, for example, will have an effect on what we think is potential growth. To the extent that the supply constraints are alleviated through, for example, political action, that could enhance potential growth substantially in a relatively short time. So in that sense, I don't think that when we talk about potential growth, we're really talking about the structural growth prospects of the economy going forward, which could be quite different given our population, et cetera, provided the supply constraint issues are addressed.
But in the short term, if growth goes...
I think in the short term, you've heard Dr. Urjit Patel's sense.
Okay. Govardhan?
So Govardhan from the Economic Times. You mentioned that if inflation goes in the path as guided, there is no scope for rate hike in the future. At the same time, you mentioned about El Nino effect, and we have been witness to food prices playing spoilsport when it comes to inflation. Does that mean that if El Nino effect crimps food production and the inflation goes up, that you are back to rate increases? And then another factor was that fiscal deficit numbers, whatever was given in the revised estimate, seemed to have been a kind of a mirage. It's completely way above the mark. So that also may play. So how do these two factors shape your interest rate outlook?
I think on food prices, first, it's not a given that El Nino will happen. Conditional on El Nino happening, it's not a given that food production plummets. If food production plummets, also, it's not given that inflation across the board will be high. It depends on which commodities are particularly affected, etc. So there are lots of uncertainties in this train of thought, and therefore I don't think we can at this point anticipate precisely what will happen. If food prices do increase, then there is this question of whether it's seen as a short-term transient increase, such as we saw with vegetable prices in December, which we decided to look through, or whether it's a more permanent increase, which could cause for example, second-round effects in wages and so on. So we'll have to take a call then if, first, the hypothetical event happens, and second, we see a more longer-term effect on inflation and not a transient effect. As far as the budget outlook goes, we have essentially a vote on account right now. Clearly, the new government will have to announce a full budget, and presumably that will take into account the need to meet the fiscal consolidation path. I think that a number of measures will have to be looked at, and I think we should wait for that before taking a call on whether the budget is credible or not.
Pradeep?
प्रदीप पंड्या CNBC आवाज़ से। सर, आपने जैसे अपने स्टेटमेंट में कहा कि बैंक लाइसेंस के लिए आप ईसी के परमिशन का इंतज़ार कर रहे हैं। अब तक इलेक्शन कमीशन के साथ क्या आपकी कोई बातचीत हुई है, क्या चर्चा अब तक हुई है, अगर आप ये बताएं। और दूसरे, जो ऑन टैप और डिफरेंशिएटेड लाइसेंस की आपने चर्चा की, क्या टाइम फ्रेम है उसके लिए?
On the first issue of communication with the Election Commission, yes, they have asked us questions, we have responded. And at least as of now, I think they have the information that they need, and they have to make a decision, which could be a variety of, I don't want to forecast what their decision will be. Let me just say that this process has been taking place under its own steam. It is a regulatory process. It is not a governmental process. And the notion of asking the Election Commission was primarily because this is election season, and we didn't want the potential licensees to get their approvals under a cloud. And that is why we have asked the Election Commission for their opinion on whether we can, whether this is something that comes under the Code of Conduct. And let us wait and see what they say. But once and if they say there is no issue there, I think we would be in a position to announce the bank licenses fairly quickly after taking it to the committee of the central board. On the issue of differentiated bank licenses as well as on-tap licenses, the point is we should not be giving licenses every 10 years. And also, I think that, there is scope for having, people with partial licenses, for example, only for payments or only for lending, to come into the system. And this will allow people to develop banking capabilities even with relatively small size of operations, which will then allow them to maybe apply for full banking licenses down the line. So to facilitate entry, to expand entry, we need to look at both on-tap licenses, which is examine regularly applicants every few years, and second, have differentiated licenses. We already have a base document. We have to look at it much more closely. So I would suspect a framework in the next few months to develop, and then the process to start soon after. So, of course, it takes some time for people to apply. It takes some time for the applications to be vetted. What we've learned this time is how to do it carefully, how to do the vetting very carefully, and that will be part of the process going forward. I can't give you a date, but I will say quite soon that we hope to open the window. And it may be that we open the window first for differentiated licenses, for example, payment banks, and then move to opening the on-tap for universal banks down the line. But the hope is to make this an ongoing process.
One question at a time, Pradeep.
No, I think the idea to seek I don't know whether it's permission or just to make sure the election commission was on board was primarily to shield the announcement from controversy, so that the new licensees don't get dragged into the political process, which could happen quite easily. So it is. I've said earlier, perhaps abundant caution. It is something that Dr. Bimal Jalan suggested would be a good thing, and I respect his judgment and his advice a lot. And that was the basis on which I went forward to ask the Election Commission. And let's see what they say.
Ritesh?
Governor Ritesh.
Please don't speak without mic because it's very difficult for us to transcribe.
गवर्नर रितेश फ्रॉम जी बिजनेस सर, दो सवाल हैं. एक तो पहले इन्फ्लेशन को लेके है. जिस तरह से इन्फ्लेशन में गिरावट देखने को मिली, लेकिन कोर इन्फ्लेशन जो कोर सीपीआई है वो अभी भी कहीं ना कहीं स्टिकी है. एंड इन योर पॉलिसी आपने कहा है कि अपसाइड रिस्क अभी भी इन्फ्लेशन है. डज दैट गिव यू अ सेकेंड थॉट ऑन होल्डिंग द रेट्स फर्स्ट? और दूसरा सवाल जो आपने पॉलिसी में कहा है 12वां पॉइंट 12th पॉइंट में जो आपने कहा कि लिक्विडिटी कंडीशंस हैज बीन टाइटन्ड एंड पार्टली ड्यू टू window dressing by banks, and RBI will come up with measures. If you can just elaborate what kind of window dressing you mention about here and what kind of measures you propose.
Okay. On the first question, if we actually had second thoughts about the rate, we'd have moved the rate. We believe the rate is appropriately set right now, given our anticipation of events over the next few months. So the core CPI is sticky, but we've seen some sort of fall in the elements that we are worried about. For example, service inflation. There's been some reduction over time. So we will give this process some more time, the disinflationary process. We are not overly moved by the sort of fall in vegetable price inflation. But we are watching the disinflation that is happening in a number of important services, and let us wait to see how that moves. Of course, a number of factors will help in that, but as you said, there are some risks. Now, I want to say these risks are two-sided. We could get, for example, a budget that is a strong budget, and that could put us firmly on the fiscal consolidation path while shifting more of the focus towards investment rather than government consumption. That, for example, would be, I think, important for the economy. We could also see that some of the fears about food prices are not as strong as we currently